Hey there guys, this is Flamzeron, aka YouTube's Tosuke. I'm sure you guys remember that a while ago I mentioned that I was in a really big Dragon Ball Z mood and that I was going to do a My Thoughts on Dragon Ball Z, and here's that video, My Thoughts on Dragon Ball Z. And we're just talking about Dragon Ball Z, not Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball GT or even Dragon Ball Kai. We're just talking about Dragon Ball Z here, mainly because one, Dragon Ball Z had the most impact for most people who have seen the series, and at the time, and still a little bit now, most merchandise of the Dragon Ball series is marketed as Dragon Ball Z. Nowadays, it's sort of marketed as just Dragon Ball or whatever, and it's marketed a little more as an anime now, but yeah. So what can be said about Dragon Ball Z that hasn't already been said? I mean, it's arguably the most popular anime out there and also one of the greatest anime out there. I mean, most people would probably say Neon Genesis Evangelion, but me, I say Dragon Ball Z. To start off with, my favorite character is still Future Trunks. I think he is completely badass. But now it's kind of changed a little bit. I've sort of turned a new leaf as far as my favorite character goes. I realized that if I really limited myself to just Future Trunks as my favorite character, then that would mean that my favorite character would only appear in one arc, even though technically Trunks appears from the Trunks saga onward to the end of the series, but not Future Trunks. Excuse me. And so I've decided that Trunks in general is my favorite character, even friggin' Chibi Trunks, that annoying little bastard, who I think is much better in the Japanese version. He just didn't seem as immature and annoying in the Japanese version. And speaking of favorite characters, it wasn't always Trunks, but preferably Future Trunks. It was originally Gotenks, that fusion from of Goten and Trunks. I originally saw him on the back of an action figure box, and I thought, oh, he's pretty cool, and so he's my favorite character. And then I saw him in the bootleg Dragon Ball Z VHS tape that I got. That was Japanese with subtitles, and he was okay. I mean, he was a little annoying because he was so childish. And then Vegito became my favorite character. I wanted to have a more adultly favorite character, which is sort of ironic because Vegito isn't any more adultly than Gotenks, meaning, he's still kind of immature. But he's still pretty cool. I normally play as him after I've unlocked him in the games. But then my favorite became Future Trunks, and now it is Trunks in general, but preferably Future Trunks. And the reason why that is because I would always play as Trunks in the games, or at least Future Trunks. I know I've said Future Trunks a lot, but I'm trying to make sure that I get my point across. I've gone through this so many times. I'm getting sick of doing this stinking video, and yeah, I'm not going to get too angry. But yeah, Trunks, he's pretty cool. Yamcha is my second favorite character. I think he's pretty badass. Of course, with his Wolfgang fist stuff and how he does that sword for a little bit. He's also my favorite Dragon Ball character, but that doesn't really matter. As far as my favorite villains go, my favorite villain is Cooler, and my second favorite villain is Perfect Cell. I think it's kind of cool how he can use, everybody's moves. And I also heard that he, along with Frieza, were originally supposed to be the final enemy of the Dragon Ball series, which for Cell, it kind of makes sense because he's, he can do everybody's moves and whatnot. But with Frieza, I don't really think so. To me, he's just a flamboyant, gay, alien man. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, and you can kind of see that in each of the arcs. Like in the Frieza saga, Goku is deemed unable to battle, so to speak, or he's missing, and people don't know if he's alive or dead. And with Cell, he actually dies before Cell is defeated. Speaking of Goku, though, one thing I've noticed is that whenever he's fighting an enemy like Cell or Frieza, even though he's trying to defeat them and whatnot, just to protect the planet, he's not really trying to kill him. In fact, they kind of talk as if they're buddies. Like, he sees him as an opponent, or an adversary, someone that he needs to defeat in order to achieve his goal, which is ultimately push his limits. Like Vegeta said in the episode where he recaps on everything, and he says, you're number one, Goku, blah, 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 blah. And that's kind of cool. Like, Goku, he never really thinks to kill anybody, even though he ends up killing people and whatnot. even though I think technically he hasn't killed anybody except for like one person. My history for Dragon Ball, like the entire series, I first saw it, like I first heard about the series when I saw the Dragon Ball movie, Curse of the Blood Rubies, that I saw at Blockbuster when I was, but a wee lad, shall we say. I saw it at Blockbuster, the VHS tape, and I said, oh, that looks cool, so I rented it and I watched it, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Then came first grade, and I watched, and I saw a little ad on Toonami for Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I might watch that. And I watched it, and keep in mind, I hadn't connected the time of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, so, yeah. And then I watched the episode, which I think was the second episode, and they kept referring to this one character as Goku, and he kind of looked like Goku, but he was another. It's like, holy crap, is that Goku? Sweet. This is a sequel to Dragon Ball. Holy crap, this is my favorite show ever. Which it ended up becoming. Or at least my favorite anime. I recognized several of the characters, like I knew who Master Roshi, Bulma, and Yamcha were, and Oolong, and Puar, I believe. I didn't know who Krillin, or Piccolo, or Tien, or Chaozu were, though. I mean, not until Dragon Ball started airing on Toonami. And then I kind of saw everybody. And, I watched the show, and I used to watch it religiously. I was obsessed with Dragon Ball Z. It was like my favorite show, and I knew a lot about it, like a lot about what was to come, because I had a magazine, unofficial Beckett Dragon Ball Z Collector, that magazine that canceled like so many years ago. Then they switched to doing anime, and now they're doing Pokemon. They're probably going to switch to Bakugan or World of Warcraft, blah, 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 blah. I'm ranting. I learned about, the Majin Buu saga and whatnot. I learned how Vegeta was going to turn evil at some point, and he was going to have to fight Goku. I learned how Gohan was, after the Cell saga, Gohan was supposed to be the main character, but people wanted Goku back. I mean, Gohan is... I'll say this again, Gohan is kind of overrated. And not to sound like a nerd or anything, even though I am one, people's main thing about Gohan being as powerful as he is, it's really only they say that it's because he's so powerful. Well, he loses all that strength in the Majin Buu saga. He's actually like weaker than Goku. Yeah, he's stronger than Goku for a little bit, but then afterwards he's weaker than Goku. And so that's kind of sad. But yeah, I knew a lot about Dragon Ball Z. I was obsessed with the thing. I got the cars, the action figures, man. I was obsessed with the show. And I still love the show. I'm just not obsessed with it. It's kind of like with Tails, but we'll get to that one next. Afterwards, after the series ended, I played the games, and I still play the games. I find them really fun. They are great games. I'm not sure which one is my favorite. Dragon Ball Sagas was pretty good. I like the Legacy of Goku series and the Budokai series. I will say this, though. Dragon Ball Z, Legendary Super Warriors on the Game Boy Color, hardest game ever. I hate that game. I get farther at it within each playthrough, so that's pretty good. And I'm still waiting for Dragon Ball Online. That's kind of a fun, game to look forward to. I've kind of been tailoring my character. I think I'm going to have him where he uses a sword. He's going to be a human. He's going to be so badass. He's going to have red hair like all my other characters. Whew. I think that's as much as I can talk about as far as Dragon Ball Z goes. I mean, if you guys want to ask me anything, go ahead and maybe I'll make a video of it. There's one thing I need to show you guys, though. My Dragon Ball Z collection of stuffs. Or this is really my Dragon Ball collection, so here we go. And keep in mind, this isn't my full collection. This is actually just as much as I could find. And so, kabam! That's my collection. Ain't it huge? It's like my largest piece of collection ever. I don't think I'm pretty sure my Tails collection is actually smaller than it too. And again, it's not my full collection. Like, I have more action figures than that. Trans Angel would know. We used to play with them when we were kids. And I still have them lying around. Like, I'm gonna do one on that Goku figure. Anyway, I think that's all I can say about the Dragon Ball Z series. You guys will probably hear about me talking about the entire series as a whole when a certain time comes, which I won't tell you about. But in conclusion, this is Flamzaron, aka YouTube Sasuke, signing out. Glad this is only a one-parter. See you later.